Move this community forward as a whole. In that assessment was looking at in order for us to do that, the day-to-day operations of who handled that needed to be changed, and that's what the council responded to and did so.
A lot of commentary that was going around the city was one of the main reasons was the issues with the game room and some of the money that was being collected, that there was no line item, there was some kind of just problem with that, and that the city manager was trying to cover that up. Is that?
I've not heard that. I've never heard that commentary, and that there was no statement. I know from myself, anybody on the council that I'm aware of that ever made that comment. I can't not control what the commentary is out in the community, but I will answer one question when it comes to the game rooms. For the course of over a year, and it started back in July of 21, I did make a request of staff to be able to ask, and I asked for how many game rooms we had in the city of Odessa, currently at that time. This was summer of 21. Also, I asked what amount of money was being charged. I asked what was the process to be able to even get a license, because I didn't understand it. And so it was very detailed, and also I also followed it up with how much money was being collected, and to the point of what had the city of Odessa collected and when did it start. Never got a response. It was finally after 6 months or so that I finally went to the billing and collection and asked the department for that information, and I was given a list. And it started back in 2014, currently all the way to that point of 2021. It was when we finally did the final ordinance. I once again asked for that information that was never given forth, even though I already had it. So the thing is that there was just one question that I asked. I did ask the former city assistant city manager, Ms. Muncie, who is over the department that does the finances. And the question was simple as this: can you show me where on the budget there's a line item where that money actually goes to? Because there's statutory language of how the city expends that money, and money is being collected for game rooms, in this instance, being permitting, things of that nature. And so the response was, it's in the budget and it's named as other expense, or other revenue, other revenue. And that was the extent of it. Now, how it wind up, like I said, I cannot control what the commentary is in the community, but I know from the mayor's office and from this council, we have never made any assumptions or accusations or inquiries that was anything that had to do with it.
Oh, Mayor, I just guess, like, you've said you're trying to move the city forward. Can you? There's a lot of ambiguity around this decision. Can you just explain how Mr. Marrero and Ms. Brooks were standing in the way of this council moving the city forward?
There was some commentary here by some members of the former members of the city council who basically said that, well, no, I'm sorry, no. It was a community member, community organizer, basically said that we've seen you do nothing. It's not for lack of an effort. I'm not going to completely disagree with it. There has been some things that we've done. We have made the city of Odessa a sanctuary city. We have removed the game rooms. It was a direct response to the community, and this was the prior council. We have moved forward with identifying and going out with affordable housing. We've made some positive changes. What has happened, along with some former city councils, that oftentimes when we ask for help, there is a policy here that was passed by prior councils in accordance to council and the city manager's office, is that we are supposed to work hand in hand with policy making. And so that wasn't occurring. There wasn't communication. At times, not only weeks, but months of no communication. And so the thing is that that was one small basic assessment there. Now moving forward in this manner is that there are programs that we've been wanting to initiate, and we're going to initiate. We had made a proposal to go out there and do a quality of life committee. We wind up making that presentation. It fell on deaf ears for the last 2 years. We're going to move forward with that in response to an assessment that we've been making over the 2 years, what the community has been basically saying. The city of Odessa has roads that need to be fixed. That infrastructure needs to be addressed. And that is something that 2 years ago we put forward, and this former council just would not move on. So the roads are an issue. We have water infrastructure that is desperately needs to be addressed. We are attributing $6 million to that as currently, and it has been a process that we've done, but we really need to start addressing that, and we're decades behind. We also need to start addressing youth sports. We need to address, there's been a big outcry for a kind of a sports complex. There has been a lot of developers and groups that have come forward that wanted to be able to address that. Once again, we put that on the committee 2 years ago with no response from this council and the day-to-day operations. The other thing is that one thing that we also have to address is communication. Communication with people coming to City Hall and that they have that we're listening to them. We have listened to them. This community asked for change. We are in that process, in that change. We're in that transition of that change. Sometimes the change is too fast for others, not fast enough, and sometimes it's in areas which they weren't expecting. But nonetheless, change is coming, and change is going to go forward, and we're going to go as a community as a whole. One of the things that we have to address is our ad valorem base, and that's where we're going to address, and we are going into that and spend some time looking into it. And why are we falling behind on property taxes? Because every time we bring in a business, and we have spent millions of dollars through ODC, and yet we're not seeing it as a result out there in the community. These are not my words. These are the community members. This is for decades. I grew up in this community. I, too, was part of the genesis of the ODC, not just Mr. Collins. We were all part of that. And the thing is that we have been both elated with the process and disappointed with the process. But the process needs to be more transparent. And these are the issues that we have been pushing for and seeking the last 2 years. And we have just felt one roadblock after another. Now, do I assert it to one individual or two individuals? Not necessarily, but the thing is that everyone's culpable in this area. And this is something that we have to correct. Yes, sir.
Is the Nacero plant part of that issue with, the ODC wanted to give $2 million to...
The ODC did grant $2 million for jobs that were created in Houston, Texas. That's something that everybody missed. Because I am part of that community. And that's what, I'm not separating myself from the community. I have been in this community, born and raised. And trust me, I set foot in South Odessa every single day. And so it's part of my DNA, it's the rest of the city, and I care about every square inch of this community. Any other questions?
Can you talk about the consulting firm for the interim city manager?
T2 is headed by Mike Wilson, who is a combination of government officials, former government officials, and industry leaders that are in excess of 125 years. T2 was formed 15 months ago in order to be able to kind of hurry up and help ease the process for cities. For the reason is that it's a myriad of expertise that can address a myriad of issues within any community or municipality, whether it comes to evaluation of personnel, whether it is seeking management groups, whether it's law enforcement, anything of that nature, anything a Fortune 500 company can do. And instead of having a community or a municipality to try to come up with 12 dozen professional services, they're able to contract with one organization or one company that has all those abilities. So the thing is that it is not simply just one man sitting at home eating a sandwich and a muscle t-shirt. This is professionals that has been over 125 years, came across this company in October. I was introduced to them earlier in the year, and in October I was in San Antonio at Texas Municipal League, which is, I encourage all our members of the City Council to be a part of. And in that process, I was introduced to this company. I asked for references. I spoke to a lot of my colleagues around the state, got raving references. I thought that there was an ability there for them to address our Bluetooth issue that we have in the city. The Bluetooth is being the water monitoring. And in that process, I got to meet some of the people within T2, and when the opportunity came to be able to address them, maybe they'd be able to help us out with the city of Odessa, is when they were able to come into Odessa. In fact, one of the things that the company basically does is that they need to evaluate our community, our city council, our city. And there was a question of how they hit the ground running. Well, the thing is that when this company has a way of wanting to address whether they want to be able to work with the community and if the community is fit for them. And so that's how they're able to do it. They had to make an assessment of us, and the assessment was whether do they even want to work with the city of Odessa.
But when it comes to that contract, one of the concerns that was brought up here, both by council members and citizens, was the fact that some of the council members said that they had no idea about any of this until it was signed. What is your response to the concern that this contract was signed without being brought to the council's attention?
The council gave direction, any and all, and to be able to start the process, and that was the process. Now, I cannot lead the council members to water. They have to understand the dynamics of what's on the agenda and to understand it. I cannot speak to the learning curve of Mr. Thompson or Mr. Vasquez, who has been an educator, and Mr. Thompson's been in business for 40 years. If he can't understand the process of what he's voting on, then he needs to say something. I cannot speak for him or hold his hand on that learning curve. But the thing is that there has been an accusation and an inquiry to the point that this was done illegally, and yet nobody has given any evidence that it was not done illegally. Any and all is just not verbiage in the English language. Any and all has a legal standing within the legal community. It is a form of how to be able to use it and to execute these JSAs. Let me tell you one thing: is we sat there and we debated, and we're going forward tomorrow with a contract that has had professional services for the city of Odessa for 3 years. And so the thing is that wasn't consulted with the rest of the council either. And so the thing is that sometimes it's a matter of semantics. Now, people sit there and you look at semantics. Let me tell you, this is a very serious, inquiry, and we basically said this was done without their knowledge. This was done with their complete knowledge because they had an opportunity to vote on it. Within our purview, within the city, to be able into a professional service, and that's what we did as above board. We wind up going back and doing the budgetary process afterwards. There was a $50,000 retainer in order to obtain the services. That was basically the contract was executed on a Wednesday, but was not finalized until a Friday. Members of the council knew. And so in that response is that there has been this misnomer that we have entered into $338,000 contract. It is a contract that's opened it up to 12 months. It can be canceled with 30-day notice. So the thing is that we leave it an open-ended for the reason is that we're going to go into a transition. We're in a transition right now. Let me tell you, the employees have done phenomenal in this transition. They have picked it up. They have been phenomenal in the services and continue to do so, and I applaud them for all that. But the contract allows us to an open-ended to up to 12 months, up to $338. We're breaking down month to month because we can't cancel on a 30-day notice. The contract, as we enter it and we get through this process, you will be hearing more about it, and you will be learning more about the company. And at one point or another, this company will make itself known. You got to understand, they work throughout the United States and Canada. They're working with several levels of government, and there is a lot of confidentiality in the things that they do. Currently, they are making assessments and working with other cities, and because of the sensitivity of what they're doing, there is a lot of confidentiality in it. We are trying to find a way to be able to talk to to release some of that information within the council, but because there's a lot of confidentiality, and they don't have the permission of those cities to be able to release that information, it makes it very difficult. There's nothing right now for us to be able to release that information to the rest of the city council through the executive meeting, so we're trying to find a way. Now, there is going to be some information that at one point we'll be able to release a number that you, and it's a corporate number, that you can meet with them, or give them a call.
2 questions. What is the name of this company that y'all are signed a contract with?
I've got the number, I'll get that to you. But
And-
right now, it's T2.
And what about Evergreen Solutions? What is the status on that regarding the first responders?
Well, the thing is, let's look at that. There was a lot of discussion, anybody recalls back in that Evergreen. So, being on the council for 24 months, December 15th of 22, there was never a discussion that I had asked about where anybody was as far as the council, day-to-day management of addressing the concerns within the fire department. I did at one point ask and request a analysis of payroll for the firefighters that I was presented to. There was a document that was given to me by outside members of the city. They're saying this study had taken place. So I was told there was a prior study done on firefighter evaluations. When I requested that from city management, I told them it never existed. On the dais, one of the members of the council said it did exist. I yet to be able to obtain that document prior to the Evergreen. When there was a motion or a move by Councilmember Swanner to address the bleed, so to speak, within the OFR, and to possibly use ARPA funds to boost those salaries, it's when the Evergreen and then the study was then brought forward. The majority of the council at that time wanted that. But it was my assessment, and I said this in public, that this was a tool not to actually go out and give raises to the entire city, but to split everyone against each other and to create silos and saying, look, one's more important than the other. And so the Evergreen was used, and the numbers in which Councilmember Swanner and Councilmember Mata did use, they took a lot of what the Evergreen had done. And if you realize this too, pay attention to this. The Evergreen study basically almost came hand in hand to a lot of the work that a lot of the firefighters had done, and even some of the members of the council. And so they were able to be used interchangeably. So the thing is, everybody says that the Evergreen was not used. That's not true. A lot of aspects of it were. There's still a long ways to go. For the reason is that you have to have a balance. You have payrolls going up, but you have ad valorem that's staying steady of not going down. We have growth in the city, but the thing is that why is the ad valorem not going up? Evaluations going up. So are we transforming ad valorem property taxes onto the residents? But yet, when you look at the industry, when you look at the commercial, where they're lagging. This is why we're addressing and looking and studying the industrial districts. It's something that you really need to pay attention to. For the reason is that every time there is an assessment by someone who's in opposition to give pay raises to first responders, something that we have to do. We can't privatize that. There is always an assessment of we only have enough property tax to cover 40+% of the fire and police. I've been hearing that for decades. The thing is that why isn't that situation changing? And why isn't anybody in the council making that change effective? So what is the reason why that is not growing or at least and decreasing? And so this is something that we definitely are looking at as we speak.
Mr. Mayor, how do you respond to allegations of bullying by council member of city staff and just low morale among city staff?
Well, first of all, who said that?
There was a report in the Odessa American, and there was also a speaker at the last city council meeting.
Okay, so there has been a serious allegation launched that bullying had taken place. It was more than bullying. It was an allegation of statements that I made and that I attended. I take those allegations very seriously. And so the thing is that I've requested our city staff or our legal team to acquire an outside counsel, a third party, to look into those allegations. So those allegations are being looked into. I too will be questioned and be under an affidavit. I take those very seriously. If that city staff member suffered that, if that actually occurred, was it reported? Who was it reported to? For the reason is that and who their immediate supervisor is, and there's got to be a matter of record. So take those allegations very seriously. And so I, for one, for transparency, because I was accused, I want to definitely look into it, and I've asked city attorneys to be able to acquire independent study and inquiry into those allegations.
The person that actually made that comment was Casey Hallmark of downtown Odessa.
Mm-hmm.
She made allegations of bullying by you and also by Councilman Haney.
Mm-hmm.
There's a fear of retaliation that she was fearing retaliation by making those comments.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if those are accurate, I mean, is there a danger of retaliation that may put the city of Odessa in jeopardy?
Well, first of all, the thing is that you're basically saying is that there's a fear of retaliation. Is there any evidence of been any retaliation to anyone within the city? Allegations can be made, but where's the evidence that any retaliation happened to any member, any employee in the city of Odessa? You got to realize one of the things is city council and the mayor's office has no authority over any employee of the city of Odessa whatsoever. The city of Odessa manages, evaluates, hires and promotes appointees. Those appointees being the position, the city manager, city attorney, city secretary, and that of the municipal court. That's it. Not of employees of the city of Odessa. The thing is allegations that constantly been launched. They have been I'm sorry, you can't even say that word, my mouth is so dry. But they keep being put out in the community. But yet, the thing is that not one employee has come forward that they have been retaliated or bullied. And if so, this is why those allegations need to be taken very seriously. And this is why I'm asking for an independent view into it and making sure if this occurred, what is the recourse, and if it didn't occur, there also, what is that? There's no recourse here. It's just basically addressing those allegations.
And, you know, you talk about making a change within the city, and Councilman Thompson has not so subtly accused you of basically trying to change the power structure of the city away from the charter, from the city manager, more towards the mayor. Are you actually trying to kind of change that power structure to where the mayor has more power than the city manager, and the city manager is just somewhat of a figurehead?
Well, one of the things is that Councilman Thompson needs to read his charter for the reason is that the council or the mayor doesn't have the power to change the charter at all. You do realize that any charter changes have to go before the voters. It has to be put in a general election. So the thing is that statements are being made without fact. Those things are being made for the reason that the council members, that his opinion, but nobody's challenging him on the facts. We're all entitled to opinion, but we're not all entitled to the facts. So the Constitution, what guides the city of Odessa, is its charter. We are a strong manager, mayor type of council. It was the community that gave a figurehead of a mayor the vote. I didn't do that. Okay, I voted against it because I don't ever feel that the expansion of government is a good thing. And when this community went from 5 members on the dais, 6 members on the dais, 5 voting members, and then added an at-large and made mayor of voting, you expanded government. Along with that, every layer of bureaucracy became bigger. Every one of them, every board, and you just quadrupled the size of government. So the thing is that it has to be a charter change, and that charter change has to be by vote of the people. And so the thing is that he's basically arbitrarily saying that I'm doing it single-handedly. He's also made a lot of accusations of what I have not done and have done. That's been an issue here. I have never and do not continue, because we have an ethics ordinance that Mr. Thompson constantly violates, that he signed, by attacking members of this dais, personally attacking them, and then making personal comment about him as well, which I've always refrained. I've always stayed within the purview of the dais. there was accusations by a former council member that I had admonished and said something about the former city attorney and something about a draft. Generalize, but yet no specifics, for the reasons that didn't occur. I don't bully anybody, but what I do is I hold people accountable. I'm held accountable. We are all held accountable for the things and the actions that we take and don't take. And so the thing is that when you're responsible, you're running and you're the CEO or you know, and in the position of the mayor for this Fortune 500 company, you're going to hold people accountable to the things that, you know, that council requests and council direction, especially in policy making, because that is what the council does. It sets the rate for the tax rate, it sets the budget, and puts forth the policy for this corporation. And when staff members and things that fall short or don't answer, then there's going to be some accountability. And that there's a huge difference between bullying and holding accountable. There's no bullying going on. It's just people being held accountable for the job that they've been hired to do.
Mr. Mayor, are you pursuing bringing a referendum to the general public for a general election to change the city charter?
No. You're talking about going from a strong mayor to
Yes.
a weak city manager? No. Not even under consideration. Now, there are some other items that I'd like to see on the charter to be able to address. A strengthening of term limits, where you don't have a musical chairs when I was elected in 20, where we saw mayor going down and demoting himself and going into an at-large position. So basically, it's that we can't allow politicians to play musical chairs and then try to extend themselves 24 years. So I am going to be requesting the community to vote on stronger term limits, and that if you're going to make a musical chair type of move, a lateral or down move, then you would have to sit out a term.
I'm good.
Well, anything else?
Yeah, thanks for giving us so much time.
Well, let me add a few things, guys. First of all, thank you. Thank you for giving me this time. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your patience. One of the things is that I've constantly been saying that how we want to move this community forward. So there's some initiatives that we want to be able to put forward. We're going to be announcing, we've already commenced this. We are now, have addressed our website, where people can get on the website. We want to be able to get to the department or the department director within 2 to 3 clicks, as we're calling the 3 clicks. The other is we're going to be announcing Mayor with a Coffee with the Mayor. We're going to start this weekend on this Saturday, and it's going to be a monthly thing. So the thing is, community members can meet with me. We'll be putting it on on social media, and that community members can come and they can ask whatever it is they want to be able to talk about. And so face-to-face. It's something that I've already been doing, but now we're going to do it on a monthly basis. The other one is that you're going to start seeing committees that are being formed, Quality of Life Committee, that we're going to be addressing the 4 things that the community wants. They want their roads fixed. They want the infrastructure fixed. They want well-lit roads. They want small contractors want to be able to know that when they go in there and get a permit, they want to be able to do it. And the Citizens Academy is going to be able to teach citizens how their government works. If I want a trash truck, if we have to have animal control, these are the things that we need to start being able to make accessible and start training people. So these are the things that the initiatives that we're going to start growing the city and growing it as a whole and addressing other infrastructure issues. So thank you very much for the time, guys.